5-5-20. People like dates with the same number in them, and this is one of them, Chris.
Yeah, hola. It's Cinco de Mayo, Joe.
Cinco de Mayo. God, you're killing me on the culture. You got May the 4th be with you, and now Cinco de Mayo, and
See?
you're leaving me in the dust with this.
Well, Joe, I get up rather early and check all this out. It's called pre-show prep work, and I'm nailing it now. So I do know it's Cinco de Mayo.
Professional, thank you.
I am. Thank you. And first of all, again, and I really want to start out each one by showing my appreciation and thanking you and your entire team for Catalyst for ensuring that our community has the right stories, the real information, the data that's allowing us to move forward. I'm pretty excited about how we've moved forward, Joe. And you can see the poster behind me, the Open St. Pete Way. We're starting to reopen some of those folks who were asked to shut down 6 weeks ago. We got some great reports last night from those restaurants that were brave enough and helpful enough to get started with their employees and their customers. And we actually had a good night. There were only a couple of incidents where folks just didn't want to follow the rules. And what I would tell everybody again is we've got great business owners who are sacrificing literally their life and their livelihoods for you all. So when they ask you to follow their rules, just please try to do that. Please do so. It's for everybody's good. So they don't want to force you out or force you away from a fun experience. They want you to spend their money with them, but they need you to follow their rules as well. So I think that's going to be an important part as we talk about this, is just how do we respect other people's wishes? Even though it's been 6 weeks of us being canned in here, we still have to be somewhat very patient and very kind.
And speaking of kindness is a big component of the St. Pete Way, and that expresses itself through people giving to our nonprofits and our nonprofit leaders, and a lot of great efforts that St. Petersburgers have come together to build to help each other out. And today we have someone who's got his finger on the pulse of a lot of those efforts, and that's Duggan Cooley, who's the leader of the Pinellas Community Foundation. I'll bring him in now.
Right.
He's pretty connected, and I think he claims he didn't get a line on a haircut, but he looks
Joe, I believe he
dapper. I don't buy it.
I think we're going to have to check this out.
I had the idea that he put green on the top of his hair so it blends into the green screen, so it's like a green screen.
I don't know, he's doing something. He looks really good.
You like that?
Yeah. It's magic.
Welcome, Duggan. How are you, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you both.
Yes. Just give me an update. How's life in general, and you and your employees and everybody else? How are you guys faring?
All is good. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's working remotely. We pivoted pretty quickly to do that, to make sure that we're still accessible. Put in a new phone system so that we can all work remotely as well, and make it sound like, we never left the office. So all has been going well and been busier than we've been in a long time. And we usually run at a pretty quick pace. So all is going well.
Great. And this is a question all of us, like our chamber is working through this now. We're still closed. We're still teleworking, and we're going to be doing so for a while in this phase one. Are you guys, just as an organization, starting to consider how do you guys come back to work going forward?
We've had some discussions about that, and we know the earliest that we will have a physical presence in the office would be May 18th. At the very earliest, because of the work that we do, have been classified as an essential business, especially some of the relief work that we're doing. But the earliest that we'll come back in person would be on the 18th. But we also have left the flexibility for our staff to continue working remotely if they need to or want to, and that's how they feel safest doing their work.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, and I'm so glad you nailed that one. That's what we're really recommending for this first round for phase one is, if you can still go till May 18th with teleworking. You've got a system in place, people are efficient. And then when you start to even get prepared for that 18th, really do that, really a census of your employees and who is living with vulnerable family members, and those folks should not be asked to come back too. So I think I'm glad to hear that you guys are like the chamber, being patient and taking into account every piece of this. And there's no rush right now because you guys have a great story to tell. You did not miss a beat while this was going on. In fact, you guys put a lot of resources and connected a lot of resources that we'd love to talk about today. So well done on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So that starts with the big one was the Fighting Chance Fund that the city partnered with you partnered with the Pinellas Community Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about how that's gone thus far?
Sure. So far, that fund has raised about $450,000 from the community. And I think we're going to really ramp up the fundraising effort as the public source of support begins to be exhausted. If you remember, the city itself put close to $7 million in as an investment. They've expanded the eligibility for businesses several times over now. But already to date, about $450,000 has been raised. Some of that's some substantial donations that have come in, but our community has responded, and we're getting donations of $10, $25, $50 from people who just want to help. And it takes a lot of those to make a big difference, but it means that our community is involved, and it means our community cares.
And you talk about some of the bigger government options drying up. What's been the discussion sort of behind the scenes on the arc of the funding needs going forward into the coming months?
So, in terms of nonprofits in general, that's a significant issue. Many of them are so reliant on government funding, and there's a lot of money coming in right now, but that's not going to be the story over 6, 12, 18 months. And whatever money comes today is money that either has to be paid back later or isn't available later. It's causing a lot of our nonprofits to consider their business model and shifting. But I think that that's going to be the story for many of the sources of support that our community traditionally relies upon. Right now, if you look at Pinellas County government, they are pumping out at least $35 million in individual financial assistance.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that our community is going to need help long beyond what that funding can provide. And the more that our community can step up now, support our community on an individual basis now, and sustain that in the future, the better off we're all going to be.
And one thing that I don't know it gets talked about is the variable nature. We seemed the funds that have been going out have kind of been around a similar size, the $5,000 mark, whatever. And so, what's been the feedback as far as obviously that's a real boon to certain size organizations and maybe just a drop in the bucket to other size organizations. So, what have been the conversations around the variable needs?
The recommendations I think that many of us have made to businesses in the community who are availing themselves of funds is to piece together. Nonprofits have been doing this for a long time, and our businesses aren't used to this, but sort of weaving that patchwork quilt together. Mm-hmm. So if you can get $5,000 from the Fighting Chance Fund from the city of St. Petersburg and $5,000 from Pinellas County for their business assistance, while you're waiting on other sources of support, whether you've qualified and gotten a PPP loan or it gets funded in the second round, anything that you can do now to put the pieces in place to help you today and tomorrow while you wait for the third day to come along, I think is some of the best recommendations out there. And also our CPAs and others are reminding people to not forget that there's other sources of support beyond PPP. There's a tax credit, an employee retention tax credit that's available. Certainly not the volume of money that can come in from PPP, but still helpful. Perhaps if you're not eligible or find out down the road you're not eligible, but a way to get help and funding now. But it's finding strategic ways to weave that patchwork quilt together to support yourself now and keep your business afloat until a better day arrives.
That brings us back to the P word, planning, that we always talk about, Chris.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not going to stop, as we've said. And what Duggan just said too, is this is going to go on for a while. And we really sincerely still believe our relief efforts are going to go for the next 12 months. So I think the notion of this quilt, to weave your own comfort quilt, like not-for-profits have done their whole existence, is what the business community has got to learn how to do and be smart about it. But what I'm really blown away with too is, it's so many different kind of people putting that quilt together. Now I hear our Leadership St. Pete folks are going to be helping with the Fighting Chance Fund as well by doing a virtual 5K.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christy Bruner came up with that idea, and we covered it in the last couple of days. A $35 entry fee to run a virtual 5K. They encourage you to dress up and all the fun stuff, and they're printable bibs and medals and the whole work. So that's a cool idea.
Wow, see, so way to go for our Leadership St. Pete folks. First of all, thank them for putting those resources together. But so people are still trying to do it the St. Pete way, still having a little bit of fun with it, but it is that quilt we're putting together.
And something else that's fun, Duggan, is this Sunday there's the We Are Family event with Creative Pinellas. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're supporting the arts?
Yes. So early on, I think I'm so proud of our arts community here. They were rapidly trying to find ways to help artists. They knew that artists would be really, really badly hurt with the closures of galleries, performance spaces, all of our event venues, and so they worked to create our Pinellas Arts Community Relief Fund. And that's another fund that we're helping with at Pinellas Community Foundation. But this weekend, there's a Mother's Day event. We Are Family, the Pinellas County Virtual Festival of the Arts. And some of our community's best and biggest names will be performing. CreativePinellas.org/PC Arts Fest is where you can get your tickets. It begins with a pre-show at 3:00, and then the festival starts at 4. It's only $12.50 a ticket. And you will be able to see some of our greatest artists in the community, from visual to performing arts, you name it, it'll be a part of the festival, and your family can enjoy it at home, enjoy Mother's Day for $12.50. And that is not much, but all of the proceeds from that go to the Pinellas Arts Community Relief Fund, which is pretty cool. And I believe you'll be able to help our artists too with a virtual tip jar throughout the performance and throughout the afternoon and evening. So a pretty cool way to engage with the arts, even though we're all still pretty shut down right now.
Got it. Hey, Duggan, you have got a great seat. First of all, you guys have an amazing organization that does so much. But when you look now, you're describing all these resources of relief, like you're really hands on them. And so you've got a good sense of where do you, is there a sense of where we're not covering the relief yet? Like, where are you most concerned when you look out as far as all the different understanding of all the different exercises you're doing? Where do you see us most vulnerable right now still?
I think we're doing a great job with relief, and I think good support is coming in, but it's the sustained support that's going to be necessary. So you talked about a 12-month recovery. A lot of support, a lot of attention is on the issues we have today. For instance, through the Tampa Bay Resiliency Fund, we're a part of 4 different organizations came together for that. We've released about $750,000 to the community, raised about $1.14 million already. But that's for now. We're looking at how do we sustain this through the future, and without this sort of in people's face as we open up. I am a little worried that the support might not be there over the long haul, and we need it over the long haul. So I would say that that's my concern at the moment, because this is not flick the switch and open the door tomorrow and we're all good to go. This is going to take a while for our community, and so we need to continue to provide those messages that this support is available, but the help is still needed.
Yep, and I'm hopeful that those. Ideally, this is a phased reopening. So there are people opening today that are getting themselves back on their feet, and now they're only getting themselves on 25% of their feet, but they're getting there. So ideally, that pay it forward mentality of those that we've helped get started, once they get up and running, when we get into phase 2 and phase 3, they can start helping back as well. So maybe the kindness we've created will help us get through that, because I see us having that longer term problem if we don't. And that's why it's important that everybody who in phase 1 understand the role is and don't mess it up. So that if we can get phase 1, that means those of you who think you won't open till phase 3 because you've got a large venue that just meets people, now's your chance to really do it, to behave correctly. And those who help you now will help you the relief in 6 months as well. So we've got to take care of each other.
Absolutely.
And hey guys, Joe, one of the things we talked about on this, and before we wrap it up, is how do we look at the numbers? And I just received, we're trying to build a dashboard for Pinellas County about the numbers, so how we know how reopen has gone, because we don't want to tick back up. I've got a couple, they're building us a dashboard right now. It's got some good news. You mind if we end to show us some good news about just where we're at? And
take it.
All right, so I'm going to try to share the screen here real quick and just show you just a quick piece of it right now. This is a dashboard. The second half of this, the bottom half, is what we've been using as a state and a county for a while. These are metrics we look at, and if it's red, it means it's going in the wrong direction. If it's green, it means it's going in the positive direction. And so now we've added this new COVID-19, and this is the Florida Chambers work with us, and they can do this for any county. So if you're watching from a different county, But what you want to look at is these are the different gates we've talked about. This is the gate that the mayor was very specific on with us, about 6% of positive cases. He said we need to be really concerned and we may need to draw back if we hit 6%. You can see right now we're at 4.8%. And if you see, like, this is the data of that, you can see where we were the highest of that percentage was around the April 11th, 10th, 13th, this kind of area is when we really took that spike on the percent of positive cases. It's starting to work its way down. It spiked up a little bit yesterday. So we're going to monitor that, Joe. And I think we all need to monitor that as far as, now we've got some numbers now and they're going the right direction still. But every day matters. So, the care that Dugan's showing is only going to make it, it's really going to pay off if we watch these numbers and go slowly so that money was well applied. So it did save those lives. Because if he has to go back out and try to assemble that kind of money again, it's going to be really hard. And so I'm glad we have the data. I'm glad we have guys like the Pinellas Community Foundation and Doug in it that understand how to make sure the money gets to everybody. And I think you're really doing a great job. But one day at a time, right, guys?
That's right. One day at a time.
Yeah, good deal.
Well, thanks for coming on, Doug. It's always a pleasure to see you. Definitely one of the best minds in nonprofit leadership in the area. And just feel grateful that you're in our community and doing the stuff that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you both.